Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The Ram Navami violence and the aftermath that we saw the day after that is still casting its long shadow in Bengal. Today, the governor, C.V. Ananda Bose, was in Rishra in Hooghly, which saw a big flare-up of violence. Over 100 people have been arrested, both in Howrah and subsequently in Hooghly, as there is a tense calm in these two districts. The question boils down to this. Why does violence flare up in exactly these same locations every single year? The police had warned, issued guidelines about these specific locations and the possibility of violence flaring up, and yet they didn't seem to do enough to try and rein it in, to try and keep things under control. All that and more through the course of the next half an hour. We'll be speaking to the governor as well, who was in Rishra today. But first, the story of how an eerie calm prevails in Bengal.
Bengal continues to simmer after multiple instances of violence during Ram Navami processions. Political tempers also ran high as Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee accused the BJP of maligning the name of Lord Ram by organising the violence.
এবং এটাকে আমি বলতে চাই দাঙ্গা নয়, ইটস এ ক্রিমিনাল ভায়োলেন্স। বন্দুক নিয়ে নৃত্য করছে রামনবমীর মিছিলে। রামচন্দ্র কি তাকে কানে কানে বলেছিল যে আমার কথা তোমরা বন্দুক নিয়ে মিছিল করো আর বন্দুক নিয়ে তাক করো? এটা তো সিপিএম করতো।
For the second day in a row, BJP's Bengal President Shukanto Majumdar was stopped from visiting riot-hit areas of Hooghly district.
Police পুরো দমে মানে একদম ওয়ার্থলেস পুলিশের কাজ হচ্ছে বিজেপি কে আটকানো আর দুটো বাড়ি পাহারা দেয়া।
As BJP planned to sit on a dharna over the violence, police cited lack of permission and dismantled their stage.
Police is opening the stage here that was made. On the other hand, the police is saying that they will not allow this stage.
One person who did manage to visit the violence-hit areas was Bengal Governor C.V. Ananda Bose, who vowed to root out mobocracy.
We will never allow hooligans on the road take the law into their hands. Police will come down heavily on them.
Last week, violence broke out between two groups when a Ram Navami procession was being taken out in Howrah. Several vehicles were torched and shops were ransacked. The following day, hours after the road was opened up to traffic, fresh violence and stone pelting was reported. Then on the 2nd of April, when BJP National Vice President Dilip Ghosh was leading a Shobha Yatra in Rishra in Hooghly, there was arson once again. As the BJP and the TMC trade charges, is the Bengal fire simply being stoked for votes?
All right, our first big newsmaker tonight is the Honourable Governor of the state of Bengal, C.V. Ananda Bose. He was in Rishra today in Hooghly. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. You visited Rishra. There was stone pelting in Rishra a couple of days ago. What did you see on the ground? What is the situation on the ground as you saw it as things stand today?
As of now, normalcy has been established. The people feel confident. Their fears have been allayed. I could interact with the people and also with the authorities. I could visit the various places where the mishap took place, where the police jeep was burned. I also went through the street where the stone pelting was there, talked to the ordinary people there. I think the situation now is very much under control.
We've seen politics fly thick and fast. The Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, has accused the BJP of instigating this violence. The BJP, in turn, has accused her of appeasing minorities. From whatever you saw on the ground today, what led to this violence? What caused this violence in the first place?
I'm a stranger to the political turf, so I didn't want to comment on that. What I saw as an administrator is that the law has been taken over by a few hooligans for some time, but now they will soon realize that you can fool some people for all times and all people for sometimes, but not all people for all times. We will take action, effective action, proactive action, telltale action.
When you visited Rishra earlier today, you also said, and I quote, that Bengal has been suffering from the criminalization of politics for a very long time now. What do you mean by that? And again, from what you saw on ground today, were there criminal elements who were being used for political purposes to instigate the violence that we saw?
It is not the police alone. This is a crisis situation where Bengal expects every man to do his duty, not the police force alone. The government is there, civil society is there, media is there, political parties are there, and a silent majority is there. All of us should come together. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. My humble role as a governor is to see that all stakeholders come together, keep together, work together. We will certainly overcome this crisis.
Mr. Governor, we have seen this kind of communal violence in exactly these same places in Howrah and Hooghly in previous years as well. Why do you think this keeps happening in these particular locations in Bengal, and that too around these festival time? Is it active instigation by outsider elements or criminal elements, as you put it? Or is there some kind of a communal undertone to this? Because it keeps to be following some kind of a pattern here. So what is your estimate of why we see these communal flare-ups every festive season?
The past is an indicator to the present and the future. In the past, the people of Bengal have suffered the ill effects of criminalization of politics. Now, a new era will be there, a new dawn and a new deal will be given to them. Wait and see.
And as, you know, there is this eerie calm or a tense calm, if you will, particularly in these parts of Bengal, Howrah and Hooghly, where there was violence that we saw on Ram Navami, the day after that, and also in subsequent days. You went there, you visited these parts. What is your message to the people of the state right now?
That has been a question which sociologists have been raising in this country for a long, long time. The answer is to be found. We should feel that we are part of one India. This is a pluralistic society where every religion has got a right to profess, practice its faith. That should be understood by everybody. The Indian ethos is Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. That has to be implemented. This kind of differences should not be allowed to be used for political gains by anybody. Religion is one, politics is another thing. When religion invades politics, the result is chaos. That we should see. We should see that these two things are balanced. It should not be used for narrow political ends. That broad-mindedness should pervade the thinking of all political parties. I think this crisis has taught them that creating crisis does not solve any problem. Things may go out of control. I'm so happy that the essential Bengali culture is asserting itself. There is mid-course correction. It will be there. This will not be repeated. Strong action will be taken against its recurrence in future.
All right. Governor C.V. Ananda Bose, thank you very much for joining us. Our first big newsmaker tonight. He was there in Rishra in Hooghly today, taking stock of what's gone wrong. Let me now go across to our second big newsmaker tonight, and that is the BJP National Vice President, former Chief of the State BJP, Dilip Ghosh, is now joining us. दिलीप जी बहुत बहुत नमस्ते, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। आपने अभी गवर्नर साहब को भी सुना, गवर्नर साहब थे रिश्रा में। उनका मानना ये है कि जो क्रिमिनल एलिमेंट्स हैं उनकी तरफ से शुरुआत की गई इस वायलेंस को, और ये जो क्रिमिनल एलिमेंट्स हैं उनको एक सबक सिखाने की ज़रूरत है। क्या आपका मानना भी ये है कि क्रिमिनल एलिमेंट्स ने ही शुरू किया था ये?
जी बिल्कुल है। कुछ खास जगह से जब पथराव होता है और एक शांतिपूर्वक शोभा यात्रा चल रहा है जिसमें महिलाएं, बच्चे, बुजुर्ग, समाज के सारे लोग हैं, तो बहुत बड़ा एक घटना हो जाता है, अफरा तफरी मच जाता है, चोट लगता है लोगों को, और पुलिस खड़ा होकर सब देखता भी है, या तो पुलिस भी उस आक्रमण का शिकार हो जाता है और एक जगह नहीं दूसरे शहर में फैलता जाता है दिनों दिन। सरकार का कहीं कार्रवाई नहीं नजर आता है। उन्होंने ठीक ही बोला, संवैधानिक प्रधान है, अभिभावक है प्रदेश का। कम से कम मैं उनको धन्यवाद करता हूं कि वो दार्जिलिंग टूर कैंसिल करके उस इफेक्टेड इलाका में गए हैं, मुख्यमंत्री तो पहले से ही दूसरे को दोषारोपण कर रही है, जिम्मेदारी कुछ नहीं उठाई, पुलिस चुपचाप खड़ा है। अब कोई भी वीडियो देख लीजिए, पुलिस को कार्रवाई करते हुए कहीं नहीं देखेंगे आप। हावड़ा में पहला दिन गड़बड़ हुआ, शांत हुआ, दूसरे दिन हजारों लोग रास्ता में उतर करके तोड़फोड़ आगजनी करने लगे और पुलिस सामने खड़ा है, ना किसी को रोक रहा है ना डंडा चला रहा है। एक भी बदमाश को नहीं पकड़ा गया। जहां से स्टोन पेंटिंग होता है कम से कम पुलिस तो वहां जाकर रुकेगा। जिनके ऊपर पथराव हो रहा है उनको तितर बितर कर रहे हैं, उनको भगा रहे हैं, उन पर और टीयर गैस फेंक रहे हैं। मैं वहां उपस्थित था श्रीरामपुर में, शांतिपूर्वक यात्रा चल रहा, मैं खुला जीप में था, मेरे साथ एक विधायक थे, उनको चोट लगा, मेरे सामने कई लोगों को चोट लगा और पुलिस टीयर गैस हमारे तरफ फेंक रहा है, स्मोक बॉम्ब फेंक रहा है। उनको बदमाशों को रोकने का उनका हिम्मत नहीं है और जो शिकार है उनको भगा रही, उनको सुरक्षा देने की चेष्टा कर रही है, लेकिन पुलिस
दिलीप जी, आपने मुख्यमंत्री को भी सुना
है, रवैया मुझे लग रहा है
उनका इल्जाम ये है कि बीजेपी ने बाहरी लोगों को वहां लेके आया, जो क्रिमिनल एलिमेंट्स है उनको वहां लेके आए, बाकी जो प्रदेश हैं वहां से बाहरी लोगों को लेके आए, उनके साथ खट्टे भी थे, उनके साथ बाकी सारे वेपन्स भी थे और ये डिलिबरेटली बीजेपी और बीजेपी वाले करा रहे हैं। ये मुख्यमंत्री का इल्जाम है आपके ऊपर।
देखिए, मुख्यमंत्री जब असफल हो जाते हैं, हार जाते हैं चुनाव, इस प्रकार आरोप लगाते हैं। बीजेपी का जितना रैली होता है बंगाल में, हजारों लाखों लोग आते हैं, बोलते हैं बाहर से लोग लाए हैं। हम चुनाव जीतने के बाद भी बोलते हैं बाहर से लोगों से उन्होंने जितवाया है। अरे आपके पास कानून व्यवस्था है, पुलिस है, कोई भी बाहर से आए जाए। इस प्रकार त्योहार में, दुर्गा पूजा में तो इससे भी बड़ी बड़ी भीड़ होती है, लाखों किलो भीड़ होती है, तो कोई भी आ सकता है। तो पुलिस का काम है, जब आपने परमिशन दिया है, सुरक्षा देने की काम आपका है। रूट आप देख के दिए हैं, आपकी सुरक्षा देने की जिम्मेदारी है। कोई हथियार लेके घुस जाता है, क्यों नहीं आप पकड़ते उस समय? कहीं से वीडियो ला करके किसी को खड़ा करके अपना पीठ बचाने के आप प्रयास करते हैं। ये नहीं हो सकता। मुख्यमंत्री के काम नहीं है, आरोप लगाने का काम नहीं है, कार्रवाई करने की काम है। हमारे कई प्रदेश में हमारी भी सरकार है, वहां भी गड़बड़ होता है, लेकिन एक दिन में सब ठंडा हो जाता है, किसी की हिम्मत नहीं दोबारा कुछ करे। यहाँ क्यों बार बार हो रहा है? क्यों एक से एक शहर में हो रहा है? एक मोहल्ला से दूसरा मोहल्ला क्यों जाके गड़बड़ कर रहे हैं लोग और उन पर कोई कार्रवाई नहीं होती है, इसलिए दिन के दिन उनका हौसला बढ़ रहा है।
लेकिन दिलीप जी, उनका मानना यह भी है कि बंगाल में, पूरे बंगाल में कम से कम 500-600 जगहों पे रामनवमी के प्रोसेशंस बड़ी शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से ली गई थी। सिर्फ 2 ही इलाके थे, एक हावड़ा में और एक हुगली में, जहां हिंसा हुई। और उनका कहना यह है कि मतलब पूरे स्टेट को सिर्फ 2 जगहों की वजह से आप नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सकते हैं, बाकी जगह पे तो पूरा शांतिपूर्ण हुआ है। ये सरकार की तरफ की उनका मानना है, जो राज्य सरकार है।
नहीं, एक भी जगह क्यों होगा? मैं खुद उपस्थित था सिलसिला में, 12 साल से मैं जाता हूं, कभी कोई गड़बड़ नहीं हुआ है। इस बार क्यों हुआ? इतने सारे लोग रास्ता में चल रहे हैं, उनका ऊपर क्यों पथराव होता है? पुलिस क्या करती है? हावड़ा में जिस दिन हो गया, दूसरे दिन इतने हजारों लोग रास्ता में उतर के क्यों तोड़फोड़ कर रहे थे? 3-3 मंजिल तक पत्थर फेंक के ग्लास तोड़ रहे थे, दुकान लूट रहे थे, गाड़ियां जला रही थी। कैसे हो जाता है? मैं कह रहा हूं पुलिस क्या कर रहा था? पुलिस का कहीं कार्रवाई नहीं है। तो सरकार की तो कोई जिम्मेदारी होती है ना, कि केवल दूसरे को आरोप लगाना ये जिम्मेदारी होता है। अगर पुलिस हरकत में आता हकीकत में तो कुछ कार्रवाई होता है। बिहार यूपी में भी कहीं ना कहीं, गुजरात में भी हुआ है, महाराष्ट्र में भी, लेकिन वहां बंद हो गया। यहाँ क्यों फैल रहा है दूर 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 दूर? ये ऐसा ही नहीं है, दुर्गा पूजा विसर्जन में भी गड़बड़ होता है। और अगर साथ में विसर्जन होता है और मुहर्रम होता है तो विसर्जन को रोक दिया जाता है। 30% लोगों के लिए आप उनको प्रायोरिटी देंगे और 70% लोग जो दुर्गा पूजा त्योहार उत्सव करते हैं उनको आप रोकेंगे। अभी तक तो प्रतिक्रिया हुई नहीं। अगर प्रतिक्रिया होगा दोनों तरफ से तो फिर कैसे रोकेंगे आप? आप पहले से घोषणा कर देते हैं कौन गड़बड़ करेगा, कौन शांतिप्रिय है, लेकिन वीडियो कुछ और बोल रहा है। कौन पथराव कर रहे हैं, उनका चेहरा मोहरा देखिए, उनका बेस देखिए, तो पता चलता है कहां होता है। क्यों मस्जिद के पास से ही, मस्जिद से ही हमेशा अटैक होता है? क्यों वहां तैनात नहीं होते पुलिस की? क्यों कार्रवाई नहीं होती है? आप मतलब उनको कुछ ना कुछ छूट दे रहे हैं। आपके, मुझे लगता है उसमें राजनीतिक लाभ है, इसलिए इस प्रकार का।
जी, आखिरी सवाल ये है कि आप ये बताइए, अभी गवर्नर साहब ने भी बोला है कि जो तनाव जो चल रही थी, 1-2 दिन की बात है, वो खत्म हो गया। अब वहां शांति की व्यवस्था है, शांतिपूर्ण स्थिति है वहां पे। क्या आगे भी ये शांति जो है बरकरार रहेगी, या आपको लगता है कि वहां पे दोबारा ऐसे जो हिंसा हमने जो देखा पिछले हफ्ते, वो दोबारा हो सकती है?
नहीं, सरकार अगर चाहेगी तो किसकी हिम्मत है गड़बड़ कर दे, कानून व्यवस्था हाथ में ले ले। उत्तर प्रदेश में कभी सैकड़ों शहरों में, और वहां कर्फ्यू चलता था 10-20 साल पहले, हम जानते थे। आज एक पत्थर को फेंकने की हिम्मत है कोई भी, किसी भी समुदाय की तरफ से? कोई अशांति करने की हिम्मत नहीं है। कश्मीर 40 साल तक आग जलने लगा, पथराव होते रहा, कर्फ्यू चला। वहां आज इंटरनेट बंद करना नहीं पड़ता है, वहां पत्थरबाजी नहीं होती है। बंगाल में क्यों हो रही है
जी?
इसका मतलब वहां की जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है वो चाहती है, या तो निकम्मे है, वो संभाल नहीं पा रही है, इसलिए उनका रेजिग्नेशन मांगा है हमने। केंद्र ने भी और रिपोर्ट मांगी है, क्योंकि जो सरकार का हाथ में कानून व्यवस्था है वो अगर संभाल नहीं पाएगा तो केंद्र का भी जिम्मेदारी बनता है वहां के लोगों को सुरक्षा देने की, उनके जानमाल की सुरक्षा देने के लिए। लोग हाहाकार कर रहे हैं, कम से कम गवर्नर गए, चीफ मिनिस्टर क्यों नहीं जाती है वहां? जाके खड़ा होकर लोगों को बोलेगा ऐसा नहीं चलेगा।
दिलीप घोष
करके जिम्मेदारी पूरा करते हैं।
बहुत बहुत
हर बार ऐसे ही
धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। ही इज द बीजेपी नेशनल वाइस प्रेसिडेंट एंड फॉर्मर स्टेट चीफ. He was there in Hooghly on the second day, and the state government's allegation is that he was trying to instigate, or at least the procession that he took out was one of the instigation factors for the violence that we saw in Hooghly. But let me go across to Jayaprakash Majumdar. He's TMC spokesperson. We're also joined by Tathagata Roy. He's the former Bengal BJP chief and former governor of Tripura and Meghalaya. Jayaprakash Majumdar, let me start with you. Ultimately, I mean, you can blame outsiders, you can say BJP instigated it, but ultimately the buck stops with the state administration, it stops with the state police, because law and order is a subject that falls under your remit. And what we saw in Howrah and what we saw in Hooghly is a black spot on the state and its ability to control the violence, or its ability to clamp down on the violence.
Well, look, I was amazed hearing Dileep Ghosh, what you are saying. They have all partial memory. You don't have to go very far from today. 2020, only 3 years back, in Delhi, northeast Delhi, 55 people died. And whose responsibility it was? Amit Shah. Because Amit Shah's department, Home Department, looks after the law and order in Delhi. So, they have partial memory. When it happens for BJP ruled state or directly responsibility of central government, they clearly forget the whole matter.
But sir, how does that in any way condone or mitigate what happened in Howrah and in Hooghly?
I'm coming to it. I am reminding BJP people that what narrative they are trying to portray.
Okay.
It is not right. Number two, before 2016, West Bengal never saw such Ram Navami processions with arms and mayhem and the joining of RSS and BJP forces. And together, they instigating the whole gamut of the society just to disrupt the peace. It happened only for 3-4 years. Before that, Bengal has a long tradition of Hindu festival like Durga Puja.
Okay.
Nowhere else you can see that. Saraswati Puja. And for 1,000 years we are, performing Puja and Muharram and Eid and Ramjan peacefully.
Let me then ask Tathagata Roy that this is the contention from the TMC that Bengal was a peaceful state. There used to be festival processions in the past. There was no violence. It's only on the last couple of years, and that too around Ram Navami, that there is this flare-up or this violence. And for that, they are holding the BJP and RSS responsible.
There have been cases of violence in West Bengal or undivided Bengal since 1946. What we had in 1946 was known as the Great Calcutta Killings. Thereafter, we have had cases of violence, religious violence, in 1964 and several times. During the rule of the left front, they had they had created a different kind of violence which was rather based on political affiliations than religion, and this was by their choice. They had a very well-honed party machinery through which they always channelized their violence into political lines. Then it is not as if religious violence did not take place. I personally remember in the year 2010, in the last year of the left front, there was violence, religious violence in a place called Deganga in North 24 Parganas district. I myself went to the spot and I interacted with the people, and it was very much a case of communal violence. where people from the minority community who happened to be the majority there, they had desecrated Hindu temples and put fear in the hearts of the local Hindu people, and then even then the left front government did nothing about it.
But what about the last few years?
Hearing from
Their contention is that the last few years, particularly around Ram Navami, these violent instances flare up. They claim at the behest of outsiders who are instigated by BJP and RSS elements. They've issued a photograph of a young man who was carrying a country-made pistol. He's been identified as a man named Sumit Shaw, who's from Munger in Bihar. And the TMC is using that to validate their point that this is being instigated and done by outsiders at the behest of the BJP.
Oh, this is very nice. So long I was hearing Mr. Jayaprakash Majumdar doing whataboutery. What happened in Delhi and what happened somewhere else, now at least they have got something to hang their arguments on. That is, one person was apprehended from Munger, and from that they have concluded that these violences take place only because of the presence of outsiders, who of course have been brought in by the BJP. These are not outsiders, these are Hindi-speaking people. Kolkata has possibly as many Hindi-speaking people as Bengali-speaking people. Howrah possibly has more. So these are not outsiders. And secondly, there is no dearth of communal riots during the last 12 years of the last 10 years of Trinamool's rule. We have had very serious riots in places like Naihati, near Naihati. Then there were riots in a place called Baduria in Basirhat. There were riots in places like Kaliachok. And apart from these, the fact that the law and order machinery has completely broken down, I think you or Dilip Ghosh before you had pointed out, that this is the bottom line is that this is the responsibility of the state government. The state government, the chief minister is very zealous.
So let me ask Jayaprakash Majumdar, again I come back to this point. The police, both in Howrah and in Hooghly, had issued advisories and guidelines the day before Ram Navami saying there is the potential of flare-up of violence. Now, is the job of the police ending with just issuing guidelines, or is the job of the police to enforce the rule of law? Because all eyewitnesses and also, people... one second. Let me ask Jayaprakash Majumdar. I'll come back to you, Mr. Roy, in a moment.
Right, but on that point, I'll just take 20 seconds.
Okay, all right.
The place where violence started in Howrah, this time, it was the site of a similar fracas last year at Ram Navami time.
Yes.
Why didn't the police have enough intelligence to know that this is going to take place? Why was there such a meager police presence?
So that's exactly what I want to ask Jayaprakash Majumdar. That if the police knew enough that there is the potential of violence flaring up to issue a guideline, then why didn't they have enough reserve force to ensure that violence does not spread? The police's job does not end with issuing guidelines, does it?
Of course. I would answer your questions in two phases. Very small time I will take. First of all, Tathagata Rai, what he said about the huge list of violence or rioting, he, very easily forgot the greatest rioting in independent India happened in Gujarat under the rule of Narendra Modi. More than 3,000 people killed, and the then Prime Minister advised, the then Chief Minister. Oh my God! You have got to stop this habit of interjecting. And the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee advised the then Chief Minister to do Raj Dharma, and he didn't pay heed to it. Neither that government was removed, and that is not a law and order problem.
No, Mr. Majumdar, again come to the point. What happened 20 years ago in Gujarat?
Come to the present point.
Yes, come to the current point.
Coming to the present, I have reminded my good friend that they have got partial memory. Now, about the present thing, I was in BJP for 7 years, and at that point of time, Tathagata Rai was busy doing the governorship. And I have seen in last 3-4 years, BJP office is being used to make plans with RSS inputs that how to make a procession with arms, taking them to the Muslim areas, masjid areas, to instigate them with music, slogans and weapons, arms, all arms, so that there will be some kind of retaliation, expecting that, and then they will blame the local police and administration, and then they will run to central government for imposition, like a crying baby, imposition of governor's rule.
All right. So far, there is no indication that governor's rule is going to be imposed or any such thing. I'm completely out of time, but thank you very much to Mr. Majumdar, Mr. Roy. We'll see how this story plays out. The good news is that after 2 days of violence, there seems to be an eerie sense of calm now. The governor's also visited the place. He spoke to us earlier today, and those interviews will go up on our website as well. But I want to now shift focus to what's been